Every year, there are a handful of very good shoes that just never catch on. And after logging 100 miles in these shoes, I can confirm that the ASICS Glideride 3 is both very good and underrated. Yo, what's going on everybody? My name is Kofuzi and today I'm going to talk to you guys about the ASICS Glideride 3 after 100 miles. But before I do, I want to go over some disclosures. These are a pair of shoes that ASICS sent to me for the purpose of review, so I did not have to pay for them. However, nobody's paying me to make this video or to use the shoe, and no one's going to get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. So with that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about the ASICS Glideride 3. First, let's talk about how I've been using this shoe. I very quickly narrowed in on a kind of very specific use case for the shoe, and that was for easy runs, easy long runs, and recovery runs, because I feel like this shoe is nice and squishy, and it's very comfortable for me to run on, especially when my legs are tired, and especially when my ankles are also tired, which typically happens to me when I get very deep into a marathon training block like I am right now. And I think the main reason why I'm just enjoying the squish so much in this shoe is because of the top layer of this 3-layer cake here, which is FF Blast Plus. That's ASICS Premier Daily Training Foam. It's very squishy, very lightweight, and it is also resilient, so you don't just get stuck into a squishy mess. You land in the shoe, you feel the softness, and then you get brought right back out of it. Now, the part that makes this shoe so great at recovery runs and very useful for those days when your body wants to be a little bit on the sloppy side is because of the other 2 layers of materials in this shoe. Now, on the bottom layer of this shoe is ASICS Flight Foam. And the difference between that and the FF Blast Plus is that it's a little bit firmer, so that way it doesn't squish and deflect quite as much as this top layer of midsole foam does. And then combine that with something that's in the middle, and you kind of see it through this window here in this channel through this midsole foam. And this is a hardened EVA kind of plate-like layer that has all these lines cut into them, which I think helps the EVA plate move a little bit more flexibly. And the way that these 2 bottom layers work together is it creates kind of a system for you to roll through on every step as your foot hits the ground. And it also provides stability. So even if you do land a little bit to the side, or if your ankles do want to cave in a little bit, that slightly firmer white flight foam layer of foam here kind of prevents your foot from rolling in too far or rolling out too far. These 3 foams work to create a soft experience that's also controlled with the shaping and the geometry of the foams and the shoe. And I think ultimately where it sits today in the lineup in my mind is it kind of sits right in between the Nimbus 25 on one end and then the Nova Blast 3 on the other end. So the Nova Blast 3 is our even squishier, even speedier shoe, and the Nimbus 25, which also has that FF Blast Plus midsole foam, is still squishy, but because there's so much of that FF Blast Plus foam in there, and they're using an FF Blast Plus Eco, which is a more sustainably produced midsole foam, it's a little bit kind of different kind of squish, and I feel like the best adjective that I could use to describe that word is shock dampening. So in terms of like absorbing the shock and dampening the impact that your foot hits the ground and having something that's really squishy and bouncy, right in the middle is that Glideride 3. Now, let's talk about how this shoe has been holding up over the miles. And I feel like this shoe has been holding up fantastic. It's hard to tell that this shoe has 100 miles on it. Looking right to the outsole, the rubber, as you would typically expect with an ASICS shoe, the rubber looks barely touched. There's hardly any wear marks on it at all, even though there was not a ton of rubber here to begin with. The only kind of hints that there are some miles, in fact, on this shoe is that there are some parts of this flight foam here that are exposed. to the outsole and you're running kind of directly on them. And even in those spots, there's light scuffing that's there, but it's not like it's chewed up, even though I've taken it on rockier roads and dirt paths. On the upper, I still find everything to be really comfortable. This mesh is still nice and stretchy, very breathable. The toe box is very roomy and everything feels really nice. And even though it's very soft and flexible, nothing feels like it's about to give out anytime soon. The only kind of one weird spot on the upper is back here in this very well padded heel cup. Now this heel cup probably has a little bit more padding than I think that the shoe really needs, but I do know that having a lot of padding in the back of the shoe is very comfortable for a lot of runners and is very accommodating for a lot of different types of heel shapes. But what ended up happening to me on mine is that each of the shoes ended up developing like a strange crease in this giant pad of foam back here, and it just kind of looks weird. It still feels very comfortable, but it just kind of looks a little bit odd, and that's really the only visual hint that I have that this shoe has any sort of mileage on it. Overall, I'm really enjoying the shoe, and if it wasn't for the fact that I just really don't like blue shoes for some reason, I would probably end up wearing this shoe casually. Now there's a women's color, which is kind of, I think it's called clear blue. It looks kind of like a white on white to my slightly colorblind eyes. I feel like if they made that into men's, that's definitely a shoe that would look fantastic for everyday wear, whether you're traveling, running errands, living your daily life, and also getting in some decent high mileage in your marathon training block. I feel like the ASICS Glideride 3 could be that do-it-all type of shoe. All right, so let's get to some summary points to wrap up this Glideride 3 video. The best things to use this shoe for are those easy runs, long runs, and recovery runs. It's a nice squishy shoe that rolls really well, so you're gonna move through those miles without feeling like you got a big chunky shoe on your foot. If you're looking for shoes to pair with and putting this shoe into a rotation, I really think there's a couple of ways to go with it if you want something that is a little bit faster for those workouts. One shoe that I think you can use to keep it in the family is another shoe from ASICS that has a lot of nice rolling motion to it, and that's going to be the Metaspeed Edge Plus. Now there's two shoes that look very similar that are carbon plated racers with FF Turbo foam from ASICS, the Metaspeed Sky Plus and the Metaspeed Edge Plus. I prefer racing in the Sky Plus, but there's different dynamics with the plate position in the Edge Plus, and there's slightly different shaping in the forefoot and stack heights that are in these two shoes that make this one a lot more stable, and it rolls really well. So those people who like to have a nice rolling motion in their racing shoes, this is gonna be a nice thing to pair with that Glideride 3, which is another shoe that relies heavily on geometry and shaping to roll your foot through that foot strike. If you want something though that is similarly squishy but still a racer, I think that another shoe that you can pair with the Glideride 3 is the New Balance SC Elite version 3. I feel like of the carbon plated shoes that are out there, the New Balance fuel cell options are probably some of the squishiest and softest, most forgiving options. The nice thing I like about the update for version 3 is that they added a little bit more foam and they tweaked the carbon just a little bit. I don't know if they changed the carbon itself or just changed the plate position, but it feels just a little bit more snappy, and so it feels a little bit more aggressive while still keeping that nice, comfortable squishiness to this racing shoe. And I feel like these are two shoes that are also going to pair up really nicely. Now, if you're looking for some alternatives from other shoes to consider as you're looking at the Glideride 3, I really think there's kind of like two ways that you can go. And again, I'm going to introduce that word dampening, and I'm going to talk about the Nimbus 25. It's a taller shoe than the Glideride 3, and it's got a lot more of the FF Blast Plus, although like I said, it's FF Blast Plus Eco. So I feel like with this shoe, there's a softness to it, there's a nice roll to it, but the shoe is more about dampening impact than having like a squishy and responsive kind of feeling to it. So if you like your shoes to kind of travel a little bit more, kind of in the up and down direction, then I'd say go with the Glideride 3. But if you really just want to like absorb the impact of the road, then I'd say go with the Nimbus 25. Let's say you want to go the other way though, and you want something that's a little bit more peppy than the Glideride 3. That's when I think you should reach for the Saucony Triumph 20. It's another similarly tall shoe compared to the Glideride 3, but it's got the Power and Plus in here, and that is a foam that is a little bit more dense, but it's got a little bit more bounce to it. I feel like this can run in a variety of different paces a little bit better than the Glideride 3, so it might be another shoe worth your consideration. Now let's talk about the buying guide for this shoe. This shoe comes in at $150, which kind of feels like a lot of money to me. But looking at what shoes are costing these days, and it seems like shoes have been creeping up in price, and last year to this year, things have kind of shot up quite a bit. And so the 150 price doesn't seem so crazy compared to a lot of the shoes that are coming out in 2023. Now, this shoe has been out for a little while, and I've been looking around to see if there's any discounts available, and it doesn't seem like there's any discounts yet. So you're still looking at the 150 price. But I do know that they're going to continue to make new color options available for this shoe. More colors are going to be coming available in the summer. So hopefully when that happens, you might be able to get some on a discount, but that's going to be several months from now when this video was filmed in the middle of February. So if you are interested in the Glideride 3 and you're looking for a Glideride 3, it looks like you're going to be paying the full price, but I also think that it's going to be worth it. So those are my thoughts on the Glideride 3 after 100 miles. Let me know in the comments if you have any other questions, or better yet, stop by the live stream that I do Monday through Friday right here on YouTube. I'd love to talk to you guys in the chat. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I will see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?